are not basically different. But you and Buddha are absolutely different. Evolution is working horizontally. Methods, techniques, religions, they work vertically. Your body has stopped. It has come to a point, a omega point. Now there is no further growth in it. Horizontally, evolution has stopped. Now a vertical evolution starts. Now wherever you are, you have to take a jump vertically. That vertical evolution will be of consciousness, not of body. And you are responsible for it. You cannot ask nature why, but nature can ask you why you are not enlightened yet. Because everything is provided now. Your body has all that which is needed. A Buddha's body you have got. Exactly whatsoever is needed for the Buddha to happen to you, you have got. Only a new arrangement, a new synthesis of all the elements that are given, and the Buddha will happen to you. Nature can ask you why you are not enlightened yet, because nature has provided you everything. And nature asking you will not be irrelevant, but you asking nature is absurd. You cannot be allowed to ask. Now you are aware and you can do something. All the elements are given to you. The hydrogen is there, the oxygen is there, the electricity is there. You have just to make certain efforts and experiments, and the water will happen. All that is needed to be enlightened is with you. But it is scattered. You have to combine it, synthesize it. You have to make a harmony in it. And suddenly, the flame will arise which becomes enlightenment. All these techniques are for that. You have got everything. Just know how is needed. What to do so that enlightenment happens to you. Third question. You say that millions of lives and millions of years of natural evolution can be avoided through reaching total awareness and total freedom. Can it not be argued that karma with its natural forces of cause and effect should not be interfered with by any shortcuts? Or is it also the way of divinity to bring such a possibility within the reach of evolving world, evolving soul? Everything can be argued, but argument leads nowhere. You can argue, but how that argument is going to help you? You can argue that the natural process of karma should not be interfered. Don't interfere then. But then be happy in your misery. And you are not. You want to interfere. If you can rely on the natural process, it is just wonderful. But don't make any complaint then. Don't say that why this is so. It is so because of the natural process of karma. You are suffering because of the natural process of karma. And otherwise it's not possible. Don't interfere. This is what the doctrine of faith is. The doctrine of believing in fate, of kismat. Then you are not to do anything. Whatsoever is happening and you have to accept it. Then too, it becomes a surrender. And you need not do anything. But the total acceptability is needed. Really, there is no need to interfere. But can you be in such a state when you don't interfere? You are constantly interfering with everything. You cannot leave it to nature. If you can leave, then nothing else is needed. And everything will happen to you. But if you cannot leave, then interfere. And you can interfere. But the process has to be understood. Really, meditating is not interfering in the process of karma. Rather, it is taking a jump out of it. Exactly. It is not interfering. It is taking a jump out of the vicious wheel, of the vicious circle. The circle will go on. And the process will come to an end by itself. You cannot put an end to it. But you can be out of it. And once you are out of it, it becomes illusory. For example, Raman died of cancer. His disciples tried to persuade him to go for a treatment. He said, okay, if you like, and you will be happy, then treat me. But as far as I am concerned, it is okay. The doctors were surprised because his body was suffering. It was in deep pain. But his eyes were without any pain. His body was suffering deeply, but he was not suffering. The body is part of the karma. It is part of the mechanical circle of cause and effect. But the consciousness can be beyond it. It can transcend it. He was just a witness. He was seeing that the body is suffering, that the body is going to die, but he was a witness. He was not interfering with it. Not at all. Just watching whatsoever is happening. But he is not in the vicious circle. He is not identified. He is not within it now. Meditation is not an interference. Really, without meditation, you are interfering every moment. With meditation, you go beyond. You become a watcher on the hill. Deep down in the valley, things go on, they continue. But they don't belong to you. You are just an onlooker. As if they are happening to somebody else. Or as if they are happening in a dream. Or in a film on the screen. You are not interfering. You are just not within the drama itself. You have come out. No, you are not an actor, you have become a spectator. This is the only change. And when you are just a witness, the body will complete immediately whatsoever has to be completed. If you have many karmas for suffering, and now once you have become a witness, you are not going to be reborn again. The body will have to suffer in this life all the suffering that would have been in many lives. So it happens many times that an enlightened man has to suffer many bodily ills. Because now there is no future birth, no future life. This is going to be the last body. So all the karmas and the whole process has to be completed, finished. So it happens if we look to Jesus' life through the Eastern eyes, then the crucifixion is a different phenomenon. To the Western mind, there is no succession of lives, no rebirth, no reincarnation. So they don't have really a very deep analysis of the crucifixion. They have a myth that Jesus suffered for us. His suffering is a salvation for us. But this is absurd. And this is not true to the facts also. Because if Jesus' suffering has become salvation for you, then why humanity is still suffering? It is suffering more than it ever suffered. After Jesus' crucifixion, humanity has not entered into the kingdom of God. If he suffered for us, if his crucifixion was a repentance of our guilt and sin, then he is a failure. Because the guilt continues, the sin continues, the suffering continues. Then his suffering was in vain. When the crucifixion didn't succeed. Christianity has simply a myth. But the Eastern analysis of human life has a different attitude. Jesus' crucifixion is his all the suffering accumulated through his own karmas. And this is his last life. He will not enter the body again. So the whole suffering has to be crystallized, concentrated in a single point. That single point becomes crucifixion. He has not suffered for anyone else. No one can suffer for anyone else. He has suffered for himself, his past karmas. And no one can make you free because you are in bondage because of your karmas. So how Jesus can make you free? He can make himself a slave, he can make himself a free man, he can liberate himself. Through crucifixion, the account closes of his own karmas. He is finished. The chain has come to an end. Cause and effect, they have come to an end. This body will not be born again. He will not enter in another womb. So all, if he was not an enlightened person, then he would have to suffer this for many lives. It has become concentrated in one point, in one life. You cannot interfere. And if you interfere, you will create more misery for yourself. Don't interfere with karmas, but go beyond. Be a witness to them. Take them as dream, not real. Just look at them and be indifferent. Don't get involved. Your body suffers, look at the suffering. Your body is happy, look at the happiness. Don't get identified. That's all what meditation means. And don't find alibis, don't find excuses. Don't say that this can be argued. You can argue anything. You are free. But remember that your argument may be suicidal. You can argue against yourself. And you can create an argument which is not going to help you, which is not going to transform you, rather which is going to become a hindrance. We go on arguing. Just today, one girl came to meet me. She asked me, tell me, is there really a God? She was ready to argue that there is no God. I asked him, because I looked at her face, her eyes, she was tense, filled with argument. Wanted to fight on the point. Really deep down, wanted that there should be no God. Because if there is God, you are in trouble. If there is God, then you can not remain whatsoever you are. Then a challenge comes. God is a challenge. It means you cannot be satisfied with yourself. Something higher than you is possible. A higher stage, absolute state of consciousness is possible. That's what God means. So she was ready to argue and she said, I am an atheist and I don't believe in God. I told her, if there is no God, how can you don't believe in him? And God is irrelevant. Your belief and your disbelief, your argument for and your argument against, is related to you. It is not related to God. Why you are concerned if there is no God? Why you traveled so long and you have come to me to argue about something which is not? Forget and forgive him. Go to your home. Don't waste your time. If he is not, then why you are worried? Why this effort to prove that he is not? This effort shows something about you. You are afraid. If God is, then it is a challenge. If God is not, then you can remain whatsoever you are. There is no challenge to life. A person who is afraid of challenges, risks, dangers, of changing himself, of mutation, will always deny that there is God. The denial is his mind. The denial shows something about him, not about God. And I told her that God is not a thing which can be proved or disproved. God is not an object about which we can take some opinion for or against. God is a possibility within you. It is not something without. It is a possibility within you. If you travel to that possibility, he becomes real. If you don't travel up to that point, he is unreal. And if you argue against him, then there is no point in traveling. You remain the same. And this becomes a vicious circle. You argue, God is not. Because of it, you never travel towards him. Because it is an inner travel, inner journey. You never travel because the point which is not, how can you travel towards it? So you remain the same. And when you remain the same, you never meet. You never encounter God. You never come to any feeling, to any vibration from him. Then it is proved more for you that he is not. And the more it is proved, the more you are far away, the more you are falling, the more gap increases. So it is not a question whether God is or not, I told her. It is a question whether you want to grow or not. If you grow, your total growth will be the meeting. Your total growth will be the communion. Your total growth will be the encounter. I told her one anecdote. One windy morning, just the spring was ending. A snail started traveling upwards on a cherry tree. Some sparrows just on a neighboring oak started laughing because it was not the season and there were no cherries on the tree. And this poor snail, making so much effort to reach to the top, they laughed at his expense. Then one sparrow, Philo, came near to the snail and said, "Darling, where are you going? And there are no cherries yet on the tree." But the fellow, the snail, never even passed. She continued her upwards journey. Without pausing, the snail said, "But they will be there when I reach. They will be there when I reach there. It will take for me a long time to reach to the top. And by that time, cherries will be there." God is not, but he will be there by the time you reach. It is not something which is already there. It is never. It is a growth. It is your own growth. When you reach to a point where you are totally conscious, God is. But don't argue. Rather than wasting your energy in arguing, use your energy in transforming yourself. And energy is not much. If you divert your energy into argument, you can become a genius in arguing. But then you are wasting. It is at a great cost, because the same energy can become meditation. You can become a logician. You can make very logical arguments, very convincing proofs you can find, or disproofs. But you will remain the same. Your arguments are not going to change you. Remember one thing, whatsoever changes you is good. Whatsoever gives you growth, expansion, increase in consciousness is good. Whatsoever makes you static, and whatsoever protects your status quo is not good. It is fatal, suicidal. The last question. Sometimes I feel in a state of non-doing, very passive, but my awareness of what is happening around me seems less. In fact, I feel detached from things around me. This somehow seems false passivity, as I imagine non-doing should be synonymous with increased awareness. Can you please define this state? Ordinarily, we are in a feverish state, active, but feverishly. If you become passive, the fever will be lost. If you become passive, non-doing, if you relax within yourself, activity will be lost, fever will be lost, and the intensity that comes through fever will not be there. You will feel a little dull. You will feel as if your awareness is decreasing. It is not decreasing. Only the feverish glow is decreasing. And it is good. So don't be afraid of it. And don't think that this passivity is not real. This is being said by your mind, which wants the feverish activity and the glow that comes through fever. Fever is not awareness. But in fever, you can have a very unhealthy awareness, alertness. That is diseased. Don't hanker for it. Allow it to go. Fall into passivity. In the beginning, it will look like that you're increasing, that your awareness is decreasing rather than increasing. Allow it to decrease. Because whatsoever decreases with passivity was feverish. That's why it decreases. Allow it to decrease. A moment will come when you will gain a balance. In that point of balance, there will be no increase and no decrease. That is a healthy point. Now the fever has gone. And on that point of balance, whatsoever awareness you have, that is real. That is not feverish. And if you can wait for that moment to come, because it's difficult. Because in the beginning you feel that you are losing grip. You are becoming really dead. Your activity, your alertness, everything is gone. You are relaxing into death. It appears that way because whatsoever you know about life is feverish. It is not really life, but just a fever. Just a state of tension. Just a state of hyperactivity. So in the beginning, and you know only one state, this state of fever. You don't know anything else, so how you can compare? So when you become passive, relaxing, you will feel that something is lost. Allow it to be lost. Remain with passivity. A balancing point will come soon. When you will be right at the point where there is no fever. You are simply your own self. Not pushed by someone else into activity. Not pulled by someone else into activity. Now, activity will start happening to you, but it will be spontaneous. It will be natural. You will do something, but you will not be pulled and pushed. And what is the criterion to know whether this activity is not forced on you, is not feverish? This is the point. If the activity is spontaneous, you will not feel any tension through it, by it. You will not feel any burden. You will enjoy it. And the activity will become end unto itself. There will be no end. This will not be a means to reach somewhere else. It will be just an overflow of your own energy. And this overflow will be here and now. It will not be for something in the future. You will enjoy it. Whatever it is, digging a hole in the garden, or caring the trees, or just sitting, or walking, or eating, whatever you are doing will become absolute in itself. Total action. And after it, you will not be tired. Rather, you will feel refreshed. A feverish activity tires you. It is ill. A natural activity nourishes you. You feel more energetic, more vital after it. You feel more alive after it. It gives you more life. But in the beginning, when you start becoming passive and you fall into non-doing, it is bound to be felt that way, that you are losing awareness. No, you are not losing awareness. You are simply losing a feverish type of mentation, a feverish type of alertness. You will settle into passivity and a natural awareness will happen. This is the difference between a feverish alertness and natural awareness. This is the difference. In feverish alertness, there is a concentration. It excludes everything. You can concentrate on anything. You are listening to me. If it is a feverish alertness, then you listen to me and you are totally unaware of anything else. But if it is a passive awareness, not feverish, balanced, natural, then if a car passes by, you hear that car also. You are simply aware. Whatsoever happening around you, you are aware of everything. And this is the beauty of it, that the car passes by and the noise, you hear it and it is not a disturbance. If you are feverishly attentive and you hear the car, you will miss listening me. It will be a disturbance because you don't know how to be totally simply aware of everything that is happening. You know only one way, how to be alert of one thing at the cost of everything else. If you move to something else, then you lose contact with the first one. If you are listening to me in a feverish mind, then anything can disturb you. Because your alertness goes there, then you are cut off from me. It is one-pointed, it is not total. A natural passive awareness is just total. Nothing disturbs it. It is not concentration, it is meditation. Concentration is always feverish. Because you are forcing your energy to one point. Energy by itself flows in all directions. It has no direction to move. It simply enjoys to flow all over. We create conflict because we say this is good to listen. That's bad. If you are doing your prayer and a child starts laughing, it is a disturbance. Because you cannot conceive to be simply aware in which the prayer continues and the child goes on laughing and there is no conflict between the two. They both are part of a bigger whole. Try this. Be totally alert, totally aware. Don't concentrate. Every concentration is tiring. You will feel tired because you are forcing energy unnaturally. Simple awareness is inclusive of all. When you are passive and non-doing, then everything happens around you. Nothing disturbs you. And nothing bypasses you. Everything happens. You know it, you witness it. A noise comes. It happens to you. It moves within you. Then it passes. And you remain as you were. Just as in an empty room. If there was no one here, the traffic will go on passing. The noise will come in this room. Then it will pass. And the room will remain unaffected. As if nothing has happened. In passive awareness, you remain unaffected. Everything goes on happening. Just passes you, but never touches you. You remain unscarred. In feverish concentration, everything touches you, impresses you. One more point about this. In the Eastern psychology, we have a word sanskar, conditioning. If you are concentrating about something, you will be conditioned. You will get a sanskar. You will get impressed by something. If you are simply aware, passively aware, not concentrating, not focusing yourself, just being there, nothing conditions you, then you don't accumulate any sanskar. You don't accumulate any impressions. You go on remaining virgin, pure, unscarred. Nothing touches you. If one can be passively aware, he passes through the world, but the world never passes through him. One Zen monk, Bokuju, used to say, go, pass the stream, but don't allow the water to touch you. And there was no bridge under the stream near his monastery. So many will try, but when they will pass, of course the water will touch. So one day one monk came and he said, you give us puzzles. We try to pass that stream, there is no bridge. If there was bridge, of course, we could have passed the stream and the water would not have touched us. But we have to pass through the stream. The water touches. So Bokuju said, I will come and I will pass. And you watch. And Bokuju passed. And of course, water touched his feet. And they said, look, the water has touched you. Bokuju said, as far as I know, it has not touched me. I was just a witness. The water was touching my feet, but not me. I was just witnessing. With passive alertness, with witnessing, you pass through the world. You are in the world, but the world is not in you. Enough?